having our Visionary Award ceremony. This is where each year we honor the person who has made the greatest influence in education over decades, not just a few years, but over a large part of their lives.
Thank you and welcome for being here tonight for Mississippi Geographic Alliance's Visionary Awards program. As he told you, my name is Brad White, and for better or worse, I'm your MC tonight. They've given me my talking points and the topics I'm supposed to hit, and I promise you, you know, where I come from is a little community. It's not on any of the maps that they've got out here. It's the community of Jupiter, which is about 3 miles outside Delo, Mississippi. Governor, you're in the country when you get a suburb of Delo. But at our little church, Judge Pickering has been there and spoken at Jupiter Baptist before, and will appreciate this. My grandfather, when he was alive, was always given the responsibility of introducing any guest preachers. And he would always get up and say, "We're very proud to have Brother so-and-so here with us today." And he'd go through his introduction. He'd say, "You know, preacher, you can preach as long as you want, but we're all leaving at 11:30. So I came up knowing how to keep something moving, so hopefully I will do that for y'all tonight. I was talking to my mother this evening, and I have to be honest with you, she found it quite humorous that I was emceeing such an academic event as this. I have 3 sisters, or 1 sister, 2 stepsisters, and all 3 of them are teachers. My blood sister is a counselor in Rankin County. And my father used to tell everyone, you can tell what this would do to your psyche growing up, but he used to tell everybody that Lacey graduated with honors, and it was just an honor for Brad to graduate. So that's why I went into politics. But here I am, and here you are. And as my old boss, Governor Haley Barber, used to say about politics, this is a team sport. And that's true with what we're accomplishing here tonight. Take a look around the room, and you'll notice we have quite the distinguished crowd tonight. Civic leaders, business leaders, educators, political leaders, we about cover it all. And we're all here to promote the Mississippi Geographic Alliance mission to impress upon Mississippi students the vital importance of their learning about our interconnected world. And I've learned as I've gone through the last 20 years of my professional life the importance of that myself. The Mississippi Geographic Alliance at the University of Mississippi is the educational affiliate of the National Geographic Society in the state. And many of us grew up reading National Geographic. And I recognize some of the faces out in this crowd, and I know that there are some of you that enjoyed the pictures much more than you did the articles. But nonetheless, many of us grew up being inspired by this wonderful publication. And the MGA is working to bring that same wonder about the world to Mississippi students today. One doesn't have to spend much time in the real world to understand the importance of geography. In a former life, in fact, I guess my first job in government was with the Department of Transportation when I worked for the Transportation Commission. And Johnny Morgan's here, and Johnny, you remember Zach Stewart, that was a long-serving Northern District Commissioner for 20 years at least. And Commissioner Stewart one time, giving a speech about transportation, said, you know, in order to be a good, and this is God honest truth, he said, in order to be a good highway commissioner, all the fellas got to know is a little bit of geography. And he said, the highest road in the world goes through the Andes Mountain. And the lowest road in the world goes through Death Valley. But the most important road in the world goes in front of the house of the fellow you're talking to at that given moment. So geography kind of follows us regardless of where we are. And that's just something as when they called me yesterday about emceeing this, that immediately came to my mind was Commissioner Stewart's remarks about that. But seriously speaking, one of my favorite books of recent years was Thomas Friedman's The World is Flat. I don't know how many of you have read that. But in it he discusses how our world has changed and how at one time we competed with a farmer down the street. But in today's world, our children wake up and the people that they're competing with is waking up on the other side, or live on the other side of the world. Our world economically is flat. Our competition range has spread much more. And we owe it, as a result of that, to our young people to position and prepare them for global competition, to teach them to become informed decision makers and leaders, to provide them a deeper understanding of our interconnected world, and to train them in the type of visionary thinking that requires understanding of how the world works. But to put it in a nutshell, to broaden their horizons. And working for Senator Cochran in his role as Appropriations Committee Chairman, I can tell you, and I can attest, that all leaders need this context in order for their work to be successful. It's been said that facts are stubborn things, and I'm going to throw some interesting ones at you tonight. Mississippi exported $15.2 billion, that's billion with a B, $15.2 billion in goods and services in 2013. We ship to more than 100 countries around the world. International trade supports more than 1 in 5 jobs here in our state. And foreign-owned companies, let me repeat this, foreign-owned companies employ over 34,000 of our state workers. And as you probably know, the Mississippi Geographic Alliance provides training for teachers about other countries, other cultures, helping them prepare our students for the jobs that they could and will hold. In a national poll, this is kind of, how many of you ever watched Bill O'Reilly? You know, he's got that guy, and I can't think of his name, that they go around and ask questions like, yeah, who's the vice president? And nobody knows who these people are. It says in a national poll, 9 of 10 young adults in the United States could not find Afghanistan on a map. And 6 out of 10 couldn't find Iraq or Saudi Arabia on a map. But the worst of all, 48% of young Americans, that's less than 5 out of 10, could not find the great state of Mississippi on a map. To combat this in Mississippi, MGA offers unique and innovative programming to build mapping skills and problem solving, like an annual tour of this enormous map and others like it that you see out here, as well as smaller floor maps of the United States and Mississippi around the state year-round. And most importantly, these programs are available to most schools and districts free of charge. How many in this room are familiar with the Stennis Space Center on the Gulf Coast? Go down there and ask them about geospatial technology. And they will tell you it's one of the most rapidly growing workforce categories in our nation today. And I'm happy to report to you that MGA, this organization, has launched a new program designed to teach more Mississippi teachers how to integrate this technology into the classroom at our undergraduate our level. Again, from my perspective as an employee with the United States Senate, I cannot stress to you the role that this could play in keeping our best and brightest here in Mississippi, which ultimately is what we want to do. I mentioned National Geographic earlier. National Geographic has education alliances, I'm told, in every state. And the Mississippi Alliance is one of the most successful, thanks to the visionary support of the Phil Hardin Foundation, the Maddox Foundation, and the others who match National Geographic's investment in this state, which brings me to the Visionary Award and what it represents. The MJA Geographic Visionary Award highlights Mississippi leaders who help connect Mississippi with the world through advancements in the economy, education, and civic life. To paraphrase Aesop, and I may not say that right, but that's how we say it in Jupiter, you're known by the company you keep. So let's look at some of the previous award winners before we present this award. First, Ambassador John Palmer, who quite literally connected Mississippi to the world through his successful telecommunications company, and he chose to keep that business right here in our state. He also represented Mississippi, most of you remember, under President Bush as the ambassador to Portugal. He couldn't be here tonight, I'm told, because he's sick, but for those of you who know Ambassador Palmer, he's a top-notch fellow, good guy. The Honorable George Schloegel, who will come up to the podium later. Mayor Schloegel has a successful business career as Hancock Bank CEO, serves as city and state in many civic roles, most notably as mayor of Gulfport, and volunteers his time to improve education throughout our state. He's been a tireless advocate for the Mississippi Gulf Coast and has worked to expand the port, which I can tell you how important that is, and strengthen the economy, making it an international destination for business and tourism, all the while enhancing Mississippi's standing in the global economy. And most importantly, Senator Thad Cochran, my personal favorite, which has nothing to do with the fact that he signs my paycheck, but feel free to pass along my regards. But seriously, Senator Cochran is a longtime friend of the National Geographic Society and has introduced legislation at the federal level to improve geography education, not just in the state but nationwide. When I told our DC staff what I was doing tonight and that this was incorporated in our events, they tried to make a list of all the things Senator Cochran had done in this arena. And I finally said, guys, I don't have enough time. So I'm not going to bore you all that. Just rest assured and take my word that he's been very active in the support of what the mission of this organization is. This year we have 3 award recipients. All realize the importance of teaching our students about the world around them. Very important. Business leaders understand that to compete in a global economy, we need global awareness right here at home. Civic leaders know that well-rounded education is vital to attracting people and businesses here to our state, Mississippi. And education leaders are our boots on the ground. And again, I say that with my 3 sisters being teachers, doing the hard work of teaching students about the world. We'll start with perhaps the most important award of the night, an award that honors Mississippi educators. The Jesse McKee Award for Distinguished Service to Geography Education highlights outstanding educators in the state who are dedicated to teaching our students about the world around them. Named after the much-beloved first leader of the Mississippi Geographic Alliance, Dr. Jess McKee of the University of Southern Mississippi. This year's McKee Award recipient embodies excellence in education and shows a true passion for the work that she does. She spent decades in the classroom and countless hours outside of the classroom with groups like 4-H and the Boy Scouts of America, and taught middle school in Petal before a recent retirement. She has been a busy retiree, however. She took a pilot program and turned it into one of MGA's signature events. The Giant Traveling Map Tour takes a different National Geographic floor map across the state each year. She worked tirelessly with schools and teachers across the state to form partnerships. As a result, the program now reaches 20,000 students directly each year. Barbara Boone is always looking for ways to improve existing programs and pilot new efforts to increase the number of students and teachers MGA reaches. She has developed programs to reach at-risk students in the Mississippi Delta, as well as tools for teachers to use in the classroom. Barbara is also MGA's inaugural travel fellow. She travels to Canada this summer and will go to Cuba this winter. She's already developed teacher materials from her trip and has started sharing those around the state, setting a high bar for future fellows. She's going to have to go back to work to get some rest. She's a national award-winning educator, receiving the Outstanding Support for Geography Education Award from the National Council on Geographic Education in 2016. She does all of these outstanding programs for Mississippi teachers and students without ego or any thought of self-gain. And I can tell you, in this business, that's rare to find. She truly has passion and a gift for the work, and we're fortunate to have her here in the great state of Mississippi. I'd now like to invite Dr. Jeffrey Vitter, Chancellor of University of Mississippi, to the stage to officially present this award. Dr. Vitter.
Barbara, on behalf of the University of Mississippi, the Mississippi Geographic Alliance, and the National Geographic Society, I would like to thank you for your exemplary service to education in our state, and we have this award for you tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Let's stand over here and take a picture.
Thank you so much. it is truly an honor for me to be the recipient of the Jess McKee Award for prestigious service in geographic education. My work in geography is with the students of Mississippi. I enjoy teaching the students of Mississippi and having them connect themselves to the world around them through geography skills. These geography skills will be important to them as they succeed in the global society of the 21st century. I want to thank each of you who has contributed to the Mississippi Geographic Alliance and to my university, Ole Miss, to further geographic education. Thank you.
It's now my honor to introduce a gentleman that will carry you throughout the rest of this program. The winner of the 2014 Geographic Visionary Award embodies the classic America success story. Working his way up from the mailroom at Hancock Bank when he was 16 to CEO of the company. His successful business career led to his numerous accolades, including induction into the Mississippi Business Hall of Fame, as well as serving as president of the Mississippi Banking Association. He has consistently given back to his community. After retirement, he chose to help rebuild Mississippi's devastated coast following Hurricane Katrina by serving as mayor of Gulfport. As a tireless advocate for the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and as alluded to earlier, he works to expand the port and strengthen the economy, making it an international destination for business and tourism, and enhancing Mississippi's standing in the global economy. He recognized more quickly than others the importance of geospatial technologies in our rapidly changing interconnected global economy, and received the NASA Public Service Medal for his work supporting and promoting geospatial technology. He also recognizes that education is key to our future global competitiveness and has helped teach students about the world in powerful ways through innovative institutions like the Infinity Science Center and his Model Early Childhood Education Program. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Mr. George Schloegel.
Thank you, Brad, and thank each of you for being in the room tonight and being supporters of this program. One of the things that came out of the program for me was a gift of an atlas. Big book, really fine book put out by National Geographic, and I can tell you that it isn't sitting someplace off to the side. We have 10 grandchildren, 5 of which belong to Mark, and we go through that atlas and we play games of picking out where things are. And it's such a wonderful book. And that's the kind of tools that National Geographic gives to our school teachers, who are able to impart that knowledge of the geography to their students. You know, there was a time when it took several years to go around the world. And then the good movie comes out and we see that around the world in 80 days. Well, the children today can go on their little map and they can take one of these satellites and it circles the world every 90 minutes. So those of us who are thinking back to the days of Magellan and Jules Verne and so forth are out of touch, but those youngsters aren't. And they're learning it with a type of technology that we only dreamed about. It was Buck Rogers and his fancy wristwatch. Well, today the wristwatches are fancier than anything that was conceived by Buck Rogers. But that's what our children are exposed to today. And to have a partner like National Geographic giving them the tools, and those tools go through the finest citizens we have in our state, our school teachers. They need those tools because they're having to compete with what the children see on television 24/7 to make their classrooms interesting. And what a partner we have, and I'd like to have you salute National Geographic for the good work that they do for us. To tell you how small the world's getting, my wife Peggy and I took a trip to Portugal a few months ago. We wanted to go up to Fatima, so we hired a driver to take us in an area we didn't know about. And he got in the car, and we introduced ourselves and so forth. He said, "Where are you from?" We said, "From Mississippi." "Oh," he said, "You know Ambassador Palmer?" Well, I said, Yes, as a matter of fact, we do. He said, well, I was his driver the whole time he was working at the embassy. The world's small, folks, and it's getting smaller every day. But we're here tonight to recognize visionaries. True visionaries. And let me tell you how profound that vision is. Leland Speed and William Winter had the good sense a long time ago to have the vision to get a lifetime partner. And both of them hit grand slam home runs. And I'd like to present to you their team members that have made it possible for them to get the many accolades they've had in this world. But we all know that the hand that rocks the cradle. So if you will, I'm going to ask Bessie Sarpy Speed and Elise Varner Winter to stand up, and let's recognize that talent. I was given the job tonight to introduce these two honorees. Folks, I don't need an introduction. I mean, my goodness, they're household words in every home in Mississippi. We come to the first one, Leland Speed. Now, think about where Leland came from. First, his father, one of the real fine business leaders of the state of Mississippi and mayor of Jackson, a mother that was an outstanding artist, and I know she smiles down on this facility, as the sculptor of the Andrew Jackson monument that we have at City Hall. And Leland grew up with that kind of inspiration. After he finished his education, had his master's degree from Harvard, served in the Air Force, he came back to Mississippi and he became a bond salesman. For those of you who may not know what that is, I can tell you that any one of you in this room could raise your hand and name your hometown, and Leland's been there. He went to every single hometown in the state of Mississippi in his career as a bond salesman. But didn't stop at that. Then he got into corporate government, and he has two companies here in Jackson that are on the New York Stock Exchange. Don't have a lot of companies in Mississippi on the stock exchange, and Leland has two. And you would think with the career that he's had in business and all those years and so forth, and the inspiration from his parents, that he would go in and enjoy retirement and take it easy. When Haley needed somebody to head economic development in Mississippi, he called on Leland. And Leland stepped forward and became that director and did an outstanding job for us. Outstanding job for every community in the state of Mississippi. He's truly been a visionary all of his life. He's done wonderful things for us. He continues to do those wonderful things, but his heart is in education. Always has been. He knows the value of education to himself, and he knows it to our students. He knows what Mississippi needs because it comes from our future generations. And now he's involved with Reimagine Prep School here in Jackson as a charter school, which is innovative. And innovation is what we need today. And where does that come from? It comes from visionaries. Chancellor, if you'll come up, I'd like for you to join me in presenting our Visionary Award tonight to one of the best visionaries in Mississippi, Leland Speed.
Leland, besides this award, would also like to present you with this year's National Geographic Atlas that the mayor referred to. It's signed by Alex Tate, the head geographer at the National Geographic Society. And let me read the inscription that is personally autographed on the inside. It says, "Maps are stories we tell about our world. They exist at the intersection of art, science, and discovery." Congratulations, Leland. This is a heavy book.
Thank you. Why don't we put it back down?
Yeah. Well, let's take a picture with the. book and the award.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Put it right here. It is heavy.
It's kind of nice having people stand up here and say nice things about you. But that was then, and this is now. And the question is, what are we going to do from this point going forward? I think everybody in this room is sensitive to the total subject of education. But what's going to be our action plan? What are we going to do to change the things that we know exist that shouldn't exist, and make good things happen for the young people of the state of Mississippi, education-wise? Tonight, we've got a group of people here in this room that I'd like to recognize. I believe we've got 6 or 7 people in schools. To kind of back off and look at this whole subject, there are right at 50 million children in K through 12 in the entire United States. 3 million of them are in charter schools. That's 7%. In fact, it's up from 6% last year or two. So it's going up. Of that 3 million that are in charter schools, there are 250,000 that are in a group called the Charter School Growth Fund Portfolio. These are the best of the best, and it's approximately 50 charter management organizations. One of those 50 best in the country is Republic Schools, which operates in Nashville and in Jackson. Through the grace of the Lord, we wound up with these folks as our partners. Last year, they opened Reimagine Prep down on McDowell Road. And this year, they opened Smilo Prep, which is in the old Broadmoor Baptist Church building on Northside Drive. And there will be 4 more schools coming in the next 4 years. The people who are making that happen are right here in this room. I'd like to ask all the folks that are with Republic Schools, Reimagine, Smilo, to please stand. Come on. These folks aren't just talking about it, they're doing something about it. I consider these folks saints. When you see that they their students go to school from 7:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon. And some of these teachers are on a bus that picks the child up at the curb in front of their home in the morning, and they're also on the bus that afternoon when their child is being dropped off at the curb. It's awesome to see what's possible. And this is the way, in my opinion, we're going to change things. We're going to show folks what these children are capable of if they're given the right leadership and environment. And I just want to say, yeah, it's nice to sit up here and hear somebody say something nice about you. But what are we going to do now? That's what really counts. Thank you very much.
The best known person in the state of Mississippi, and this has been going on for a long time, is the guy that I'm about to introduce. The best known person in Mississippi. And you're not only the best known, you're the best loved as well. And we're mighty proud of you. A couple years ago, you introduced me in this thing. It's my turn to get you back. What do you say about William Winter? Well, I've already told you how important Elise Varner Winter has been to him. What a team, and what she did as our First Lady. And if you hadn't read a book, you need to read it. It's got some great insight. They were staying with us one night in Gulfport while we were doing the campaign, and I didn't know about it till I read a book, but had a death threat on William that night, and all these special people around the house with guns and everything going to shoot the perpetrators as they were trying to kill him. Peggy and I, when they were asleep, didn't even know that was happening, Governor. Had to read Lisa's book to find out about what was going on in my own house. William has done about everything a person can do, and he did it kind of the hard way. If you think about what he went through after he finished school and finished 2 stints in the military in World War II and also in Korea, and then comes back and gets in the legislature, and then abolishes the highest paid job in the state of Mississippi that he was holding to create the state treasurer's position. That's vision. That's vision of seeing how we broke the mold of the old school of the way we did things in Mississippi for the new way to put us in the modern age. And it was this visionary, William Winter, that did that. And when he was governor, he had the idea that, it's well known, that children learn a whole lot more when they're young than they do when we get older. And that a youngster at 3 and 4, 5 years of age is like a sponge, and that's the time to be teaching them the basics and to get them into really good early childhood education. And he came up with a concept, and I see 2 of the folks in the room right here with us. Y'all remember he called us into that kitchen in the State House, and he said, "Boys, I want to get kindergarten in the public education system." Well, that wasn't very popular in Mississippi, especially in certain parts of the state, to have public education at the kindergarten level. And he had his boys of summer, 2 of them are sitting here, and he had 2 bankers. I happened to be one of those bankers, and we said, "Well, exactly what's involved?" And he said, "Well, we need to get the legislature to pass this K through 12 program." And we said, "Fine." He said, "Let's see what we can do." Well, Buddy Newman at the time was Speaker of the House, and the legislature was meeting in the old Jackson Central School, and it got really heated toward the end of the legislation when that bill came up. And I was sitting in the audience along with these other guys, and Buddy Newman hit the gavel, and he adjourned the legislature rather than take up the bill that William wanted passed as governor. Well, what kind of enemy do you have there where the Speaker of the House is against you? We walked out of there forlorn. William didn't give up. He had vision. He said he's going to do it in a special session. He's going to go on the road and tell the people of Mississippi how important kindergarten was. And so we said, okay, fine, he can go on the road. And so we all did that kind of thing. And I asked William, and this is where I'm going to get you back, I asked William, I said, "Well, we're doing the things you asked us to do, but is there something specific you want me to do?" Now, I come from Gulfport. Buddy Newman came from up in the Delta. And William looked at me and he said, "Yeah, you changed Buddy Newman's mind." I said, "What?" Well, William was serious when he said it. I knew he was. And so I thought, the devil am I going to keep from disappointing my governor? Well, I knew that one of the strongest people and one that Buddy Newman loved the most was Jim Simpson. Jim Simpson comes from Pascashan, which is right down there by Gulfport. His wife worked in the office right next to me in the bank. Buddy Newman supported us, and William Winter got K through 12 through the state. Now, it wasn't anything that I did. He did it, Buddy Newman supported it because William Winter was leading it. I was in the car one time with Brad Dye and Buddy Newman and William. We were in the back seat, and I heard Brad and Buddy talking. And I think Brad said, "Do you think we ought to have gubernatorial succession?" And at the time, you only serve one term. And Buddy kind of looked over there to see whether William was paying attention, and he and I were talking, and he said, "If I knew they were all going to be like that, I'd be for it." That's the kind of guy that we wanted. Well, anyway, y'all all know about William Winter. And you know all the great things about his family and what he's done for Mississippi because you love him so much. But when I see K through 12, if you ask me to spell K, I'd spell it by saying William Winter. That's what that K stands for. And they are, if you're under 50 years of age in this room, you've had the effect of that bill that William Winter led. But more important than that, the millions of children yet unborn get the benefit of what William Winter did in putting K through 12 in our system. That's a visionary. William, please come up. Chancellor.
Governor, Mayor Schloegel has confirmed that you have beaten out Archie Manning as the best known person in Mississippi. Besides this award, we'd also like to present you with this year's National Geographic Atlas signed by Alex Tate, the head geographer at the National Geographic Society. And I read the citation a little bit earlier, and it's dedicated directly to you. So congratulations on this award.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Here is the book. I'll hold it over here, and we can take a quick picture. Yeah, take your award, too. We'll take a quick picture. There you go.
Thank you, Chancellor. Before I say anything else, let me thank you for the leadership that you and Ms. Vitter are providing at the University of Mississippi. We are proud of you and proud to claim you, and thank you for all that you're doing for all of us. And I want to say thank you to everybody in this room, because I'm indebted to all of you. None more than to George Schloegel. George, you have outdone yourself tonight in thinking up nice things to say about me. George will remember some of the bad times. Let me tell you the kind of man George is. I ran for governor 3 times. George was out there working like everything to get me elected the first time, and we didn't make it. I ran again. And George was out there doing everything he could the second time, and we got beat the second time worse than we got beat the first time. But it wasn't George's fault. And the third time came along, and I talked to George, and I said, George, I hate to bring this up. I said, my wife hates for me to bring it up. I'm thinking about running for governor again. And you know, without missing a beat, he said, let's try it one more time. George, we made it. And we made it because of the loyalty of friends like you. You know, a friend, as somebody said, is somebody that shows up at the showdown. And so many of you, I cannot take the time to call all of you by name. I wish I could. But I do thank you for the encouragement and the inspiration and the support that you've given leading me down through the years, and that have enabled us to do whatever we have been able to do, hopefully for the best for this state. I do want to single out a couple of folks. 2 of the boys of spring. Andy Mullins, who got me down here tonight, and Dick Malphus. Dick, thank you for former Secretary of State, outstanding business leader. Thank you for providing me with the persistence to keep on trying in passing the Education Reform Act of 1982. I must confess to you, I was about ready to give up after Buddy Newman had knocked us down so many times. But he came around, George, thanks to you and others, and we were able to pass that bill. And it had made, I think it has made a difference in our state, but it is also, I would also be the first to point out how much more we have to do. But let me tell you one of the things that I think we have to do, and I say this advisedly tonight. I think we have to teach more of our young people about who they are and where they came from and what they are part of in this larger world in which they find themselves living. Geography and history need to be emphasized more, it seems to me, in the curriculum of our schools. I like to think of myself maybe as an example of that. I probably came up as insular in my thinking, closed in my thinking as any kid that grew up in Mississippi back in the 20s and 30s. We lived 10 miles behind the courthouse up in Grenada County. We didn't have any electricity out there, and didn't have until after I graduated from Ole Miss. But when I was growing up, I felt as if I was a part of a larger world. And you know why I felt that? My father, who was a struggling farmer in those days out in the backwoods of Grenada County, subscribed to the National Geographic magazine. And I read every issue. I looked at every picture. Sometimes I couldn't read it all because I wasn't able to read very well, but I looked at every picture in those magazines. And I realized what a wonderful, magnificent world I was a part of. And I wanted to be as much a part of that larger world as I could. And so that enabled me to start learning about this world in which I found myself living, and embracing a desire to go out and see what I could do to make my life as full and as fulfilling as it could be. All of it was based on education. All of it was believing that we had a commitment during our lifetime here on this earth to try to make life better for more of our fellow human beings. I learned that early on in my life, and I feel more strongly about that obligation now than I ever have before. And so I thank the Mississippi Geographic Alliance, the National Geographic Alliance, University of Mississippi Chancellor, all of you represented and all the organizations represented here tonight. I thank you for providing the means whereby a new generation of Mississippians will come along and lose that old insular attitude that has held us back for so long. We need to think in terms of Mississippi being in the center of this new world, not isolating ourselves from it as we did for so long. We have here in this state the makings of a place where life can be better than it can be anywhere else in the world, and I'm not being, it's not hyperbole that's making me say that. We have all of the natural resources. We have the great human resources. We have the capacity to have the finest educational resources if we just have the will to do it. And so that's an obligation that all of us have. It's an obligation that I feel particularly strongly about because I see the difference that it makes to have people have access to the best education that they can get. And we do ourselves, we do our society an injustice when we do not insist on making the investments in education that will enable us not only to be competitive with the rest of the world, but superior to what the rest of the world is providing. That is where we are. And let us not overlook the responsibility that each one of us as an individual can influence the shaping of public opinion in all of the circles of which we were part, and make Mississippi truly not a state where we think negative thoughts, where we think violent thoughts. Make it a state where we think about the richness of our culture, the diversity of our culture, and the capacity that every single human being has to be a productive citizen. That is the challenge, that is the charge that has been laid on us. Let us not fail in that effort. Thank you so much for this recognition.
And its resources. That is our mission. Our educational and outreach programs throughout the state are critical to the development of our children as successful participants in both local and global economies. Today we celebrate the 4th Annual Geographic Visionary Award hosted by the Mississippi Geographic Alliance. Previous honorees have all shared a commitment to enhancing the lives of Mississippians through education and a greater connection to the world. This year, 2 honorees have been selected to highlight the critical intersection of government, business, and education as we work toward our mission. We are privileged to honor former Governor William Winter, one of Mississippi's most beloved civic leaders and a longtime champion of education, and Leland Speed, an admired business builder, now working tirelessly to reform education and create innovative models in Mississippi. Governor William Winter, one of Mississippi's most trustworthy and beloved civic leaders, has long been a champion of education. A true leader, he has been able to work across both parties and with those with differing agendas to unite and improve education in our state. His legislative contributions through his lengthened career have been outstanding, not the least of which was his leadership in the passing of the 1982 Mississippi Education Reform Act. His efforts through the years for the people of Mississippi have made him a much admired man and one capable of inspiring others to contribute to the world around them. No less inspiring is Leland Speed, a renowned entrepreneur firmly rooted in Mississippi who is now working to reform education and create innovative educational models in Mississippi. A member of the Mississippi Business Hall of Fame, Mr. Speed has worked hard to ensure that Mississippi is positioned to be an integral part of the global community. He sees education as a key component to that success.
That's the kind of person Leland Speed is. He always does the right thing. He never forgets the people that have helped him, and his friendships last a lifetime, as has his giving back to Mississippi, a state that has given all of us so much.
The actions of these honorees should serve to inspire us all. They saw a challenge and stepped up to improve the quality of life for our children and for our world. It is imperative that our children understand the world around them and the world afar. Learning about geography provides that context and connects us with the entire world. That they are able to bring Mississippi to the world and the world to Mississippi.
Carley, Lovorn, the Assistant Director of the Mississippi Geographic Alliance, and on behalf of Dr. David Rutherford, Executive Director of the Alliance, and myself, we would like to thank you so much for being here tonight. I do want to take just a brief moment before we convene to recognize the teachers in the room, MGA educators. If you could stand or give us a wave, please do that. So they are all here tonight volunteering their time to make this happen. And they are so passionate about what they do in the state. You can see some of our innovative tools on display tonight. They are the ones taking these tools out into the schools and teaching teachers and students about the world around them. Did anyone notice the globe out there? Kind of large. That is not a permanent tool in our toolbox, but company CEOs, please come talk to me. We'd love to put your logo on that and take it around the state. So that's just a sampling of some of the unique and innovative tools that we use around the state with students for free in all Mississippi schools. I do want to take just a brief moment to thank our sponsors, in particular Southern Pipe and Supply, MEC, the Phil Hardin Foundation, East Group Properties, Renaissance Bank, and Delta Industries, and all of the sponsors you see listed in your program today. Thank you so much. Without you, this not only could this night not happen, but so many of our programs would not be possible across the state. So thank you so much. And I do just want to point out in the middle of your table are wine bottles. Yes, that's wine. That is a donation from Old South Winery, which is a winery in Natchez, Mississippi. So this is a local wine that we have here. Please don't forget that. You'll have to maybe do rock, paper, scissors to figure out who gets to take it home. But please enjoy that from that sponsor. And with that, I'd like to invite you to stay. There's more food, there's more drinks, we'll have music. Please stay and enjoy the globe and the map and the other tools we have. And thank you again so much for being here.
Well, this is a coveted award among teachers, and I'm a retired teacher from the Petal School District. And Dr. Jess McKee was a geography professor at the University of Southern Mississippi in the late 80s, and he is the man that we attribute this organization to, because the National Geographic Society formed alliances such as the Mississippi Alliance, and he is the man who put this all together and set it in motion. I don't know if he'll be here tonight, and I don't see him very often, but he is the man responsible for the entire organization coming together. And each year we give a teacher who carries out those ideals and the work that Dr. McKee would want, and it just happens that I'm honored this year to receive that award. Much of the work that we do, I'm a teacher consultant, and much of the work that teacher consultants do is to go in schools and teach geography, because geography is not being taught in schools. And so we go in and fill that gap and teach the children about their world, because after all, they're going to be functioning in the 21st century global society. And so we go in and we teach. Now, one of the things that I've done that I'm pretty proud of is that each year the National Geographic allows us to tour with one of the 7 continent maps. And several years ago, I was in charge of that, and so we didn't quite have a plan for it, you know, so we just did it. But that year, we toured from Long Beach, Mississippi, all the way to DeSoto County, Mississippi. We were in schools. We taught 20,000 students that year and every year since with a different continent map. So I'm pretty pleased with that program that we started.
You're being honored with the National Geographic Visionary Award. What are some of the things that you've done to earn you this award?
Well, that may be a hard question to answer. I'm not sure I've done enough to earn this award. Looking at those who have received it before, I'm certainly not in that category. But I suppose if there's anything I would say about my role in geography, it is that I think it is the most important subject that we teach in school, because it gives people a vision of the future and a vision of this magnificent world in which we find ourselves living, and a vision of how we need to relate to each other as human beings. Education is the key to everything else, of course. one is never able to realize his or her aspirations unless they have a good education, unless they've been to school, unless they learn about themselves, learn who they are, how they relate to the world. So education is the key to everything else, and that's where success begins, and that's where failure begins when people do not have an adequate education.
Why is education so important to you?
Because I have had enough opportunities as an employer, as a parent, as a citizen of the state of Mississippi to realize that education is the key to the resolution of a whole lot of different challenges and problems that we face. And to me, improving K through 12 education is the biggest single challenge we have in the state of Mississippi today. And it's not just a challenge, it's an opportunity. We want to offer various options to parents. Competition improves everything. My business is better and our company is sharper because we have competitors. And in education, we need exactly the same thing. We see the way that higher education competes. I mean, do they compete? And we need to have it in K through 12 as well.